All right. Thank you for being patient there. I know I have like the infinite loop into into the belly of the beast here. It's probably only getting worse. Yeah. All right. Welcome to Starting Over Podcast. I'm your host, Edward Shelton, aka Dark Logos. And this is a show where we look at the strategies, tactics, and mechanics behind the game of heroclix. Today's wonderful episode, we're definitely going to be talking about maps. And sort of like I said in the preview warning, saying like, hey man, we're going back to around 7:30. We're going to be looking at maps today. And one of the main maps that we're going to be looking at is Gjbrewing. That is going to be one of the maps that we're going to look at today, and actually going to be the main map that we're going to look at today. And then the second map will be a mystery map. So yay. Ha! All right. So bear with me. Like I said, I'm still trying to learn Skype. I mean, sorry, not Skype. Twitch. And I want to be able to look at Twitch chat, but it's going to give me that Inception thing, and I have it muted this time, so I know that it's it's definitely going to not cause all that feedback and other jazz and stuff like that. So, all right. Let's get into it. Why Gjbrewing or Gjbrewing or the brewery or We Be Brewing? And the main reason that I'm looking at this map is, number one, it's a map that I haven't covered yet, but it's another good example of an asymmetrical map that can offer the illusion of being symmetrical and gives very distinct advantages and disadvantages to each player. So let's start off and let's get our magic crayon of learning and other stuff. Now, some of you might be saying, well, why do you have realms up? Well, here's the weird thing. I had to verify for myself. In the actual picture of this map, as you can see here, it has water. Okay, when we look at its reference, there's no water. And so it leads me to believe, as of right now, that the reference is what is correct. That the reference is not correct. That this is actually water. So we can get a little blue here, and we can just sort of squiggle that in. Maybe not green. Green would probably be a bad idea because that doesn't represent water. All right, so let's try this again. We're gonna draw. We're gonna draw some water. So let's see if I can draw shape. Oh, well. Yeah, I'm just making a fool of myself at this stage. So, yeah. So this is all water in here. So we can make ourselves feel better that this is water. It's observable water. Okay, now, does that mean that this technically is not water? Well, yeah, it could technically not be water. But at the same time, every map that I've dealt with or I've looked at has definitively, you can just see like, yeah, that's water, so we just determine it's water terrain. So with Gjbrewing, it doesn't make sense for you to have a bridge to go over dry land the way that it is set up, because it's a bridge but in Asgard. So it's more than likely for water. So taking away my my MS Paint doodling skill set, We're just going to say for right now that all of this in elevation 1 is water. Now, some people might say, well, Dark Logos, doesn't that change a lot of things? Or on the opposite end, well, Dark Logos, that doesn't change anything. And then I would say, not quite. Not quite. So let's begin our breakdown. All right, so as we get the magic pointer of coloring once more, as soon as I get that going, we'll look at the top of the key like always. We see some cool stuff. We got our hindering terrain here and here. So automatically, what have we determined? This map is probably one of the worst maps in modern age for stealth teams. This is the anti-Wakanda. This is the anti-Wakanda. Or, to quote my friend Devin, Wakakana. This is the anti-Wakakana. Okay, so if we look, we only have these 4 squares of hindering terrain. That's really not much to work with. So if you are dealing with an opponent and they have a ton of stealth and high mobility and they can't pick map, and you're at your local venue, then yeah, Gjbrewing, whatever, is your map. Okay. The next thing that we can notice with the top of the key is, of course, this is elevation 2. This is 2, and then, of course, this is 2 here all day. And this is 1 down here. Okay? So we're at a reasonable distance from elevation 2 to 1. Okay? So that's the good news. Now, and we have this blocking terrain right in here for these walls. And that's important because you can't then be like, well, I'm on the edge here. You can't just shoot me from down there. Okay? So that's really important. All right. So when we take a deeper look at this map, we start to understand a bunch of cool things. Is that it's equal distance. Yeah, it's equal distance from both starting areas into the water. Then the next thing that we could tell, like looking at the top of the key, is that you're only going to get 1 square of extended blocking terrain. Now, I don't know if this is intentional, but having that blocking terrain sort of cut off right in here, whereas the bottom of the key, squares are important right now, have 2 squares, have to have 2 lines of wall terrain. And if we look at the original map, we can see that is indeed correct. All right. Now, also, it's also not noted in the drawing, but oh, yep, he did do it. This is indoor terrain. It's all indoor terrain, whereas the rest of the map is outdoor. So that is important as well to distinguish. So you have less indoor terrain and less wall terrain on top of the key. Not really any great access to blocking terrain and your patches of hindering. I would make an argument that if your team is based around clear lines of fire and, you know, massive bombardment, this is a map to possibly consider, but really is not a range-friendly map. And I know you're like, oh gosh, Dark Logos. He's on that stuff again, people. He's on that stuff. And so let's, as I scratch my back with a pair of very sharp scissors, let's break down from the bottom of the key its advantages, and then sort of unpack a little bit as we go on why this is not a sharpshooter's paradise. Okay, at the bottom of the key, our official color today is blue. Much blue as we possibly can. We have blocking terrain here, 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 and here. Now I know you all can say like, yeah, we can see that. We can see that. But it's important to note that when you have two more squares of wall terrain, which functionally are operating as blocking terrain, you are heavily saturated with blocking terrain on the bottom of the key. So if you have any effects that works really well with blocking terrain, you want the bottom of the key. Now, for me, if I look at this from a defensive position, if my opponent puts me on this map and I'm like, look, I got a lot of stealth, not a lot of movement attack, I'm in trouble. He doesn't have any anti-stealth. My only options is to start blowing away these two bottom pieces of blocking terrain and hiding there. Because let me show you why you don't want to blow up this other stuff more than likely. Okay, because I know some of you be like, well, dark logos, why not just blow up the little squares? And I like to ask this program, why can't you highlight? First world problems. Okay, so let's point it out. So we're going to get the again. We're going to run a freehand. So here we go. Let's just say you're right here, and your opponent is coming down. They can be right here. They can be right here, and you can't do jack. You have to bust these walls down to start taking shots. And I know some of you will say, well, dark logos, so just go there and then I'll start chipping this away. Well, great. Your opponent can come down and go on the other side of the wall. Dum, dum, dum. So now your opponent has a place to hide out. Now you can say, but dark logos, I'm going to go D and blow all this stuff down. Okay, great. You've blown all this stuff down right in here. How many turns is that going to take on a standard team? How long is that going to take with no improvement destroys blocking? You start to see the problem. So if you're trying to, set up a 21 Jump Street down here and have a good ambush, it's not happening. It's not happening. You have a better chance of having Apollo Creed at your heroclix game. Okay, that's not happening. All right, so let's go back. I know some of you would say, like, well, what about the other side? Just take everything that I said and just like inverse the video. There you go. Same exact commentary. Bam. Brilliant. Brilliant. All right, so we can see that your best option is to just sort of hide out down in here. And if you really just want to make a safer space, you just blow out that one square there, that one square there, and that really limits the area of approach, because now your opponent has to come down this way and around this way, or directly this way or that way. And I'm all for limiting lines of approach. Okay? Whatever makes it harder for your opponent. It's not your job to make it easy for your opponent to shoot you. Okay? So that's what I'm looking at. Now, I know some people might say, but hey man, like, we've been looking at these starting areas. What about the midfield? What's going to go on there? And I'm going to say, in the typical studio audience type of way, I'm glad you asked. All right. So when we get into the middle, and we're making again the assumption that the elevation 1 is water. It's magical water. Teams that have a benefit from water, King Shark, I'm looking at you, tiger shark. I'm looking at you, flora colossals. I'm looking at you. You know, a lot of these characters that get benefits from water do well by being inside of there. But here's the catch: if they don't have something that like jettisons them out of the water back onto the dry land to do something, the water is completely worthless. It's completely worthless. Not only that is the water completely worthless, it's actually a hindrance to you, and you're better going down the bridge than getting in the water. Yep. Because here's the thing you don't want, is to be smack dab in the middle of the water, like right in here, and then your opponent just running shot, or get TK'd running shot or whatever, all the way up here just for free shots. And I'm not talking about fireball types of shots. I mean like artillery types of shots. And for anyone 18 and older, you do not get that joke. All right. So that leads us into a really big problem. And the other issue is, if I'm able to block off your transitions areas and you don't have improved movement, ignore is elevated, it's going to be Adult Swim for a long time. I really do mean it. It's going to be Adult Swim for a long time. And again, if you're not 18 and older, you're not going to get that. You're going to be thinking of referencing Cartoon Network. All right, so this area right here and this area over here are great only if your opponent cannot obstruct you. So if your opponent has barrier, don't even try. Make the battle for the bridge, you know, what you're about. And again, I know someone's going to say, but that's worse, Dark Logos. If they have barrier, I'm like, yeah, it sucks. It sucks. But it's not completely horrible. Okay? At least you can fight through that. This is jank. This is grade A jank. Okay? So now I know some people will say, but you know, just blow the barrier. You can. You can attack and destroy the barrier. But if you don't have improved movement, ignores hindering, there's going to be hindering left in that square after the barrier has been destroyed. And you now have to like move up and stop, which just allows you to be shot, unless you're a colossal, which again, you can ignore elevated, so you don't have to worry about this. So what I would recommend is, you know, the Boy Scouts code. Don't go out alone. Don't go into the water alone. Go with a flyer or a phasing carrying character. That's what I would tell you. All right, so let's talk about the battle for the bridge. Let's talk about the battle for the bridge, because that is what makes this map fun, grade A fun. Okay, so there's multiple ways of looking at this space. First off, it's an indoor space, so you have anything that goes off with, like, if you're indoors, you ignore hindering terrain, or if you're indoors, destroy a random piece of blocking terrain. If I'm indoors, I get +1 stats or something. Whatever you have, this is a good place to trick an opponent. Whether you're at the top of the key or the bottom of the key. Then all of a sudden you get into this little area and your opponent's like, now I'm going to do this. And you're like, no, you're not, because I'm indoors. And then you just drop that knowledge bomb on them and you proceed to do whatever you need to do. Now, I like this for a couple of reasons. Number one, with the grand abundance of colossals that are coming, you know it. You know this, man. You have the chance for dealing with a very dumb player, and I do say this as dealing with a dumb player, is that if, you know, your opponent has a colossal somewhere in that region, you can get a barrier on that side and a barrier on the other side. You can pretty much trap them in there. And they're 2x2. So there's a lane for you to see past them. And you just keep them trapped. And there's nothing that they can do. Now, I know someone's going to say, the Dark Logos. A lot of new Colossals have that full move, Quake, destroy all blocking train silliness. What are you going to do about that? And I don't know. Maybe have a better voice that doesn't sound like Nixon met Elvis. But, you know, I'm just saying it's like, pick your tactics accordingly. So, and of course, like you do with Ego Prime, you just like loaded up, you know, your opponent full of just counterattack goodness. But we won't get into that. But yeah, any other sort of characters, you just sort of trap them in here. And that's the great thing about this map, is it's a small Ghostbuster canister level trap. Not a big, let's store Armageddon worth of ghost type trap. Okay, and whoever thought that was a good idea? I mean, come on. Come on. So you're trying to store, you know, this one big bad, and it's not a bad setup, because as long as you have a decent range, and, you know, you have the long range one that sees past, and then the short range barrier that's to the side that just sees right in front, you're good. So that's my first trick of enjoy this map. Okay. The next thing that I like about this is you have the wave of bodies technique. So with all the pogs that are going to be created now, you could just have pog guys just sort of sit as your human shields, and then you have your improved targeting person like right there, and it's great. It's just great. You can have your whole team. You have 2 improved targeting ignores characters, some pogs, 3, you know, 2 support characters behind that, and heck, you can even move up those pogs, you know, and then have a barrier guy. So we're just gonna scribble this. It's just a barrier. So you gotta get through the meat wall and the barrier. That's not even right, man. That's not even right. So that there's options, because if your opponent decides to be like, we're gonna go around here, it's like boom, this turns into Die Hard. Like, we blow this window out here, we blow this window out here, and then we run and shot and start shooting. And you just, again, you are dead. You're just dead. You know, oh, we're gonna go the other way. We're gonna go the other way. Just inverse the video. Just inverse the video, and you have your answer. Okay. So this map, functionally, with a proper team, says to your opponent, you're either going to come and fight me on this bridge, and we're going to have a death battle. Screw attack, don't sue me, bro. Don't sue me. We're going to have a death battle, and it's going to be on and popping, or you can just get shot, and I'm going to slowly move my phalanx up to kill you. And that's the thing. You know, if you have a barrier, pog generator, improved targeting, ignores character shooters, and some supports, and I put, you know, P back here for pog generator, because he needs to be close by, but not too close by, you know what I mean? It's annoying. It's truthfully annoying. Now, I know some people say, well, you know, I can get Ego Prime, and I can do this, and I can do that, and I'm like, yeah, you can. But here's the other, like, sort of interesting and sad truth that I slightly alluded to earlier. Because this is an indoor area, it's all indoors, you can have your Colossal on your team in here. Have barrier just set up all over, however you want it, however you need it. Okay. And then tell your opponent, like, okay, I'm coming. Are you going to be able to deal with me? I have a Bizarro green arrow, and I have barrier, barrier guy. Yeah, that's barrier guy. Okay, what are you going to do? So you can bust down this wall here and then shoot me, but I got a bizarre green arrow. Or you could come through here and try to shoot barrier guy, but that's fine. Next turn, I'm going to Kool-Aid Man all up in this piece, and it's over. You already know it. Red Hulk is going to ruin your day. I'm actually glad I was able to say that with a straight face. I'm becoming more of a professional. I'm able to lie to my audience directly without giving cues. You know, all joking intended, but don't run Red Hulk. Just not with how I see him now. I have to see some more stuff to make me like Red Hulk. So anyway, as we're going on, there are a great number of advantages for running this map. And the main one, like I said, is this is deceivingly good. That's deceivingly good because you're able to tell your opponent, look, this is all outdoors here. It's all outdoors here. But this middle area, this is where the fight's at. And I'm going to limit down the game to those little squares. And if you don't want to fight on these little squares here, guess what, bro? I'm going to punish you. And there's just too many ways to punish your opponent for not fighting on the bridge. Now, I know some folks, again, like I said before, they're going to be like, I'm going to post up Dark Logos, and we're going to keep with brown to show that this is a bad idea. All right, I'm going to post up in here, I'm going to post up there, and I'm going to shoot all the way to across there. And my response to that is, okay, and if your opponent can outrange you, what then? It's not like they're just going to get, you know, a case of the stupids and just go in the water. They're going to be behind here, magically get TK'd, running shot, all the way up, and then just start shooting you. And more than likely, them shooting you from here means they can probably hit to there. Okay? Or somewhere around there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is standard. 9, 10. This is Unimine. 11, 12. This is Unimine with the perplex on his range. You see why, like, just shooting it out's a bad idea? Okay, that's a bad idea. You can be like the Dark Logos. If he hides behind here, then I'm going to go and post up over here. And I'm like, okay, you post up over here. Your opponent slowly comes in, completely dominates this lane of fire. Okay? And then when they choose, they're going to bust open a window and start firing on you Die Hard style. No, this is a bad idea. So overall, don't do this. Just don't try to turn this into a shooting range. If you can, and because your opponent can't respond, great. Be adaptive. I'm not against you winning games, but I don't think that's a good tactic to start off. Come on. A good tactic to start off is just say like, oh, I'm just shooting. If you get placed on the map, I get it. But other than that, there's just too many other elements in this map to ignore. And like I said, I think boiling it down and forcing your opponent to fight in that limited space does more good for you than anything else. Now, again, if officially it's ruled that this elevation 1 is not water, then it's not water. And you can plan accordingly. All right, so let's get rid of this map here. Map background. All right, there we go. All right, there we go. All right, so so let's get to my next map. And I'm going to pop over to Twitch, see if there's any questions. Oh, sweet! Second Red Baron, thank you for showing up. We'll play some, we're going to play some Warframe later. Inception, about to happen. That's some Phoenix Nest goodness. This map is some bull. Can also use barrier to prevent colossal retaliation. That is also a good point. Yeah. Yeah, you can stop block colossal retaliation with this map. With Gjbrewing. Just being in the middle there, put up some barrier. They can't get you. That's some good stuff. Mitseavid, Mitsilby. Thank you for showing up. I'm sorry that the 720 is killing your data, man. Thank you for supporting me on Twitch. Okay, so this is Second Red Baron requested this, and I thought I uploaded it. I didn't. I was gonna look at the warehouse map, but I didn't upload it. So let's look at. I think I've done cargo ship too. That's the funny thing I will say about this is once I've started to cover maps, I'm wondering, did I cover the map in a episode of Starry Cover Podcast, or did I cover the episode in an episode of topography, or like what? Like I you know, and so that's the strange thing now for me. But I think I haven't covered this one, so we're gonna talk about Avengers Island. Yes. Also, side note, the next stream I'm going to have myself and my friend Second Red Baron, aka Jake. We're gonna play. We're gonna rename the show from the episode of Hardcore Casual to Deconstructed Fun. That's what it's going to be called. So it's going to be technically episode 2 of Deconstructed Fun. And we're going to play some theme team goodness. So this is Avengers Island map. I do believe this is still going to be legal after rotation. All right, so let's get into this. Again, Psyche Blast Blue is the color of the day. All right, so let's look at this map. And again, we're dealing with asymmetrical maps. And so the one thing that I will point out that I'm starting to like and dislike, the asymmetrical maps are creating scenarios in which a person could say, I want to fight on this map. And by picking the asymmetrical map, you're pretty much saying is no matter which side I'm on, I have a game plan that's going to navigate me towards mid-game where I either can A, keep up what I'm doing, or B, flip to the other side of the map and initiate the type of tactics that I want to play. And that, to me, is not bad, considering that we have hypertaxis. Hypertaxis create a situation where the map still matters. Okay, I want to make that clear. The map still matters. We're not in a pre-errata spiral situation. But what hypertaxis do is they say, like, the map functionally is smaller in regards to turns. That's a better way of explaining it. So, previously, before hypertaxis, it may take me 5 turns to get to my opponent's starting area. In the age of hypertaxis, it now takes me 2 turns to get to my opponent's starting area. All right. So when we can look at that same sort of application, when we're looking at asymmetrical maps is if the map suits me generally, but the side that my opponent put me on, due to, you know, them selecting side, makes it a little bit more difficult for me or non-preferable. With a hypertaxi, I can get to the other side and just be like, yep, now it's time to do my thing and do what I want to do. But just like the song, I can't tell you who to sock it to. It's your thing. So right now, this is one of those good examples of this is almost broken. And like I said, it's almost broken, but it's not broken. And let's go into why we're going to pick this map as a map of choice. Yes. Okay, cool. He's for a second red bear. It's like I've mentioned this map like 4 times. Yes, I know. We've talked about this at work. All right, so I need to get Carnage. Actually, let me get a Flora. Flora's good. All right. All right, so we got Flora Colossus appearing on the screen. All right, so Flora Colossus is sized up as a 2x2, and I'm gonna give a little loop. Oh shoot! Okay, I need to copy you. Go on to object layer, paste. There we go. All right, so I have Flora. Now, what's best is that for both sides of the map, I can put a Flora Colossal near water. So on both of their first turns, they each can get into water terrain to start the mega healing. Okay, so that's a bonus. That's a great thing that we can look at with this map. Both sides have equal access to water, unlike Muir Island, which we looked at a while ago, last time on stream. Muir Island is horrible when we're talking about equal access to water. You know, one starting area is easily right there. The other one I have to move over slightly. You know, one where it's immediately accessible, it is going to start taking away from my tempo. So in this situation, the water element is symmetrical. So there is benefits of that. And it being 5 squares, you know, deep, you know, on a diagonal is not bad. It's a nice amount of terrain. And it's overall just a good deal from my perspective. Okay. Now we start dealing with one of the meat and potatoes elements of this map. And that is, I'm going to bring a Deadpool out here. Come on. Sometimes Roll20 doesn't like me. Okay, there we go. All right, so let's start talking about our merc with the mouth setting up to assassinate President Nixon in the past to save the future. So we're going to post up on 2 different spots so that you can have a good idea. If we look at the bottom of the key, I can say like, hey, look how far up Deadpool at the bottom of the key has to get to cover a good chunk of the map for a shot. All right. So let's get that freehand going. Psychic Blast Blue. This is a very good shot alley. Very good shot alley. Okay. This from here, this also is a very good shot alley. Okay. The only thing that you're not seeing from the top, from the bottom of the key shooting up, is the stuff that's in here on elevation 1, and only stuff that you're not going to see from the top of the key shooting down is the stuff that's technically on the other side. Actually, probably this over. Yeah, that's on this line here over. Okay. So that you have a little bit more space that you can cover from the, the bottom of the key than the top, but the top of the key shooting down, it really opens up to a lot of space that you can shoot if you were able to shoot all the way straight down. And again, Deadpool is just stand in for insert shooter guy here. All right, now we have a new problem, and that problem is, as we take deeper looks, is that look, that nice square is not hindering. Oh look, that nice square is not hindering as well. All right. Well, let's just say I want to have a little bit more defensive positioning. Okay, so both sides have elevated terrain. Now, top of the key is hyper defensive. You don't even have to leave. You do go too far from your starting area. Bottom of the key, unfortunately, you got a half a day's journey. You're gonna need some water. You're gonna have to meet up at the general store. You might want to have to bring a posse with you because the wildlands can be dangerous. Okay, so that's the issue, is that for you to start setting up sniper dens, you have to come to this really weird forward position. Whereas the top of the key is just like, look, man, this is easy mode, because you can be on B2, or you can be like to be where I was at on the L7. Oh gosh, it's actually an L7. Gosh, old school reference, people. Again, it seems to be that episode. So look, there's tons of space. There's tons of safe attack space for the top of the key. And to make it worse, if I'm on the top of the key and I'm like, I have 2 safe sniper dens, but my opponent isn't coming out, I can go from here up to in here, cover all of this, okay? And then if my opponent stays down here, I can just go down, over and around, and back over here. And now I'm covering that area, forcing them to go in here. I can functionally, if my opponent goes from, we'll just say this is 1, over into 2, I can cover just about 3/4 of the map. I control just about 3/4 of the map the moment I get right here. Okay. Now I know some people say, but Dark Logos, I got the barriers and I can be up on this elevated terrain, and then I can shoot out and all this other grand jazz and this, that, and the other. No, like, real talk. There is no solid defense play here unless you're starting to do tags going across elevations. Okay, and it's frustrating. No, it's frustrating to hear this. But when we look at the design of maps and we look at the intent of Grand Forger of Land Steve and his thought process, it's quite clear. There is a abundance of forcing an aggressive stance on this map. So let's do our super count of squares of blocking terrain. So we at the top of the key, we really have easy access to only 2 squares. So here and here. That, again, like I said, you don't have much to hide behind. So you have to be playing elevation games. At the bottom of the key, you have blocking terrain over here, which might as well be a gun that's jammed. That's how much good that's doing you, okay? It's doing you absolutely doggone none good, okay? And then you have blocking terrain here, blocking terrain here. So you have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 printed blocking terrain on this entire map. So this is a nice place to take your opponent if they have, Magneto, Chase Magneto, because there's not enough for them to keep pulling more and more and more debris from. Okay. So this is something, like, truthfully, that I hadn't thought about until recently. And I probably should have covered maybe a little bit more vigorously earlier when Magneto was having his grand, hayride with all the heroclix players, earlier this year. So let's take another. Let's look at this in another way. As soon as I can get my magical pen of goodness here. All right, so the other thing that we can start looking at is if we are dealing with a lot of high ranges and we have short ranges, if those high ranges do not have improved targeting nor is elevated, then we have a field day if we are more mobile. Now note, hear what I'm saying. If our opponent has better range, but we are more mobile, this map can be stupid. Grade A stupid. So let's look at it from the bottom of the key, because the bottom of the key is where the range people want to be. If no one has improved targeting or is elevated, the bottom of the key is where everybody wants to be. Because there's two spots for them set up. Okay? Spot number one is right here. Okay? Actually, that's not it. I apologize. Because I forgot that one square of blocking terrain would obstruct the shot. And you can't shoot on diagonals anymore. And you don't want to be here. You do not want to be there. That's just asking to die. All right, so you want to be somewhere in here. And your goal is to have a trajectory to fire and cover this triangle right here. That's your goal. Okay? And the further that you're down towards this tip here, the more your opponent is going to have to come in and commit before they're able to open a fire on you. Even if they go up onto elevation 2, you got them, because your transition square is right here, and you just run a shot up and just bust a cap at them. Okay, it's really that simple. Okay. Now. Anyway, if you're looking at it from the top of the key, you're primarily focused on melee on the top of the key in mobility, because you can start to see here, like that's a small line of fire, that's a small line of fire, this is a large line of fire, but you are more than likely not going to fight in that. Okay, you're more than likely not going to fight in that, and we've already seen, like, you can control this space here real cleanly. But what you can't do is control this and control this cleanly. So let's just say you do station up right in here. And you're like, I'm going to dominate all the freeways. I'm going to control the spice. Well, anybody with any sort of run shot is just going to go in these squares right in here and then just shoot down on you. So it's not a good fortifiable position to be in. It's a wide open position in you trying to control fire lanes like they're trade lanes. It doesn't work. It does not work. You're overexposed. Okay, so the response is definitely, like I said, if you get put on this map and you're like, yeah, I'm not feeling it, and you have more mobility and less range, you just stay in here. Because for your opponent, they have to come and weave up and around. And the moment that looks like they're going to crest and set up that shot to crest right in there, you either hug these squares here or go on the other side here. Or go on to elevation 2 right here, or fall back if you have flyers into elevation 2 right here. I've listed 3 functional options that just really causes havoc with your opponent. Okay? And, I mean, again, it's up to you to capitalize with your mobility and to attack and whatnot, and figure out which way is the best for you to, like, land and attack. But let's just say we're going to go with moving up to elevation 2 up top, and we have some running shot or whatever. Okay, so the opponent is here. Where do they have to go? Well, again, no one has approved target or ignores elevation, so they can go back over here. This only further restricts their line of fire now. Okay, so they can cover these 2 circles here. They can no longer try to dominate all that space over there. You see? All right, so we're starting to see the exposed problems. We're seeing the lies in the map. Bringing out the truth. Speak truth to the power that be of the map. Okay, so like I said, you know, there's all sorts of cool little jank you can do. And sort of continue the thought briefly, is even if our opponent starts whittling and wiggling up in here, look at the line of fire. It's tiny. It's very, very small in comparison from down here out to there. That's huge. Small, huge, small, huge, small, huge. Just making it clear. Okay. All right. All right. So I know the show started a little late. Had a coaching session. And the clock sort of slightly got away from me a little bit. So I apologize. So I'm going to try to extend it a little bit longer. I'm going to look back at the questions here. Like the top of the map, just bone for TK. Yes, that's another thing. Let's look at some TK lanes real quick. All right. The top of the key is very, very frustrating because you can TK to here, and that's about it. That sucks. Or you could TK from in here. So if you have a mass deploy, you have a problem. Okay, whereas at the bottom of the key, you have this huge lane to TK in and from. So it can be quite obstructing to pick this map if you're reliant on TK, because your opponent can be like, well, you need to TK and I need to TK, so screw you. You're going to have the crappy TK lanes and I'm going to have the mass deploy with Hellion. Okay, that's completely possible. And we can't underestimate that idea. That our opponent can be like, well, you need to TK 3 guys, I need to TK 3 guys. You are now set up where you only can TK 1. So, yeah. So, I do like that. The other issue as well, if we're talking about TKing from elevation 2 to elevation 2, you're functionally going from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, to here, here to there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah, and there to there. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah. So that's your route. So, and let me try to make it clear since I have, this is the whole TK thing. All right, so you have there to there, here to here, or pretty much you can just say like that, and then here to there, okay, and then to there, okay, and then you have this to this. But if you're TKing from here to there, you have other issues going on that are more complex than for me to deal with. Because that means somebody's being tied up. So you have to be tied up like literally right there. And you just TK over there to get that person there to over there to make a shot on that character there. So anyway, hopefully you can see the benefit of the TK lanes on this map. If you're on elevation 2, like I said, if you're on elevation 1, it's W wide. If, you know, when you're on the top of the key, it's super small. Okay. So if I was to say, like, what is the better starting area, I would give the bottom starting area. Definitely if you have water and you deal with elevation and you have DK, I give it a 9.5 out of 10. Okay. And if you have a way to deal with elevation or improve targeting ignores elevation, I would say that it's a 8.5 out of 10. And the main reason I say that is the blocking terrain down over here is going to obstruct you. That's the only reason why I say that. Okay. Now let's look at the top of the key. If I was saying for the top of the key and I was going to rate it for the average team, I would say it's 5.5 to a 6 out of 10. Okay. Now, if you have improved targeting, ignores blocking, and you are a turtle dude, that's a 10 out of 10. Remember, you only have 2 squares of blocking terrain that obstruct you, and your opponent has to navigate, and you're just going to turtle, so you're just going to shoot wherever the firing line is, you know, back. So there's nothing you're really afraid of except for a hyper burst in mobility to base you. But if you don't have to worry about that, yeah, the top is 10 out of 10. Okay. Overall, is this map going to hit the meta scene? 1 out of 10, I'm going to say a 3. This, without special abilities, without some cool thing, without having a completely domineering type of terrain, whether it's really more elevated, more walls, more blocking, more water, whatever, the average player is going to look at this and going to say, like, I'd rather have WizKid's office, I'd rather have Wakanda, I'd rather have Arthur's castle, you know, I'd rather have the Star Trek dungeon map, I'd rather have, you know, Harley's apartment complex or the roller ring. There are other maps in which people will shift to. But if you want the Dark's logo squirrely seal of approval, it's got it. Because if you put people on this map, they have no clue what to do. So it's got the Dark logos seal of approval for squirreliness. And just to mess with people. And I wish I had some sort of stamp animation. I don't. So, yeah, I think this map can disrupt people how they think. They're going to have their plans laid out, and they're not going to work 100% right on this map. Definitely, if you lay it out and they look at it, and in their mind, they say, well, it looks symmetrical enough to me. I'd rather be enclosed off defensively until I figure things out than be completely exposed. That's what most people are going to think. And so because of that, they're going to pick the top of the key, unless they watch this video. And if they watch this video, then they're going to know, like, based off of what your team does, the top or the bottom key of the key matters more. All right, so that's a full show. I'm going to have uploaded, by the time this goes out, I'm going to have another show uploaded. So this show might actually be a little bit later. I want to reward the people that show up to watch the streams, and that's you, the peoples. Again, thank you to, let's see, Mitt Sylvie and Second Red Baron for showing up. And, yeah. And so anybody else that showed up and talked in chat, thank you very much. All right, so you can follow me on Twitter at StartOverPod. It came from outer space and told me, man, water is abundant. Yeah, water is abundant. That's what it told me, man. You can follow me on Twitter. You can find out when a new show is up, because Twitter will alert you more accurately than YouTube. This whole bang the button and hit the subscribe thing and all the other jazz. We come to find out that YouTube does not send you, content unless you're watching that content every day. And I like y'all to watch my content, but I can understand you're not going to watch it every day. So follow me on Twitter, and you will know when a new episode is up. You can also email me at startingwithpodcast@gmail.com. That's startingwithpodcast@gmail.com. If you wish to opine, keep it piffy, keep it interesting, keep it Autobot, baby. That's wrong. Awesome, baby. Awesome, baby. Tell me what you think of your Avengers Infinity War pre-release. And I know I got an email from a homie, and he was asking me, like, yo, dude, should I sell heroclix, and buying stuff is it a good idea, and all this other jazz. And I might end up doing a show on that later. But in the short right now, I would tell you, buy what is comfortable for you. And right now, the super boosters, not super boosters, the colossals are probably going to go for a lot more than we care to admit. And so because of that, I would definitely encourage people to figure out what combination of sealed and free buy they're going to do. If you're going to go all free buy, be prepared to pay around somewhere, and this is what I'm eyeballing, somewhere between $250 on the low end, definitely if you're not a completionist, all the way up to probably about $450, maybe even $500 if you're a completionist. If you're a competitive player, so far in the set, you're probably going to be spending on an average about $350 on average. Now, I'm not going to say that that's going to be the grand total, but this is definitely not a set that I see people going cheap on. But at the same time, unfortunately, the majority of things that are going to inflate the prices are going to be colossals. And those colossals causing major gameplay issues. Infinity, Eternity, Living Tribunal, Thanos in particularly. I think Thanos might be on another $100 piece, depending on the rarity and how hard it is for people to get them. Thanos is more than likely going to be a $100 piece. Star Fox Chase is probably going to be day one, like $40-50. Closer you're going to get to Origins, he's going to be $100-150. So I would tell everybody, if you're watching this, get your Star Fox day one, get your Thanoses, hopefully under 150, and just try to get them, because if you can't and you're a Unimind player, it's going to cost you later on. So yeah, I think this is a set where if you invest in a brick or a case, it's not horrible. I look at the rest of the non-giant stuff, and I sort of cringe. I sort of cringe. There's not enough there to keep me invested. There's not enough there to keep me saying, oh wow, I want to play that thing. I want to go back and play Avengers for the 30th time this year. And that's what's frustrating to me right now, is most of the commons, uncommons are not interesting. The rares and the super rares do not have me motivated to play constructed, let alone sealed. The super rares that are okay. The chases are craptastic. They're craptastic in my opinion. And if Mjolnir didn't exist as a object, most of those characters would not be playable. The giant rarity, that's where most of your value is, unfortunately. And it's sad to say that. And there's only 4 to 5 things that I've seen so far that I'm like, oh, I wouldn't want that giant or colossal. But most of them, I would say, like, I could play you. I could play you. I could have some fun with you. I can make my local players think twice when they play you. But most of the standard figures, I'm just disappointed. So, yeah. All right, going back to shilling, you can buy a lovely Starting Over Podcast t-shirt in the link below. You can also donate to the podcast at startingwithpodcast.blogspot.com, where the eBay link, the PayPal link, is there to donate to the show. Everything goes to make the show better for you, the viewer. Yeah. So, that's it for today's episode. I'd like to thank everybody for listening. I also thank everybody for being patient with me setting up and so on and so forth, and also for everybody that showed up on the live stream. And that's it. So we always need to remember, we all have to start over sometime.